Hi there, Heather Price here. I'm a little bit behind time, so I apologise if you feel like you've missed me, and I hope you get to tune in a bit later. Wow, what a week it's been. Huge energies for me at least. I'm sure everybody I've spoken to, everyone's talking about, how everything seems to be moving at quite a fast pace, and I've found I've had to pull myself up and really take some rest time out to restore and replenish my energy. So I'm not sure if you're the same, but if you are, then go ahead and do it. I've been really resting because there's lots of things happening in the sky. And those of you who follow shamanic path and practice know that I'm constantly looking up as well as in, and occasionally around me, just to see what's going on, especially when our winged creatures call out to us. It's a good idea to take notice. I had a post on a little while ago that I felt really, it was really important. It's a story that I've shared quite a few times, and this time I really felt like it was helping people understand the importance of the message that I had, not from a bird, but this time it was from a snake. And I wanted to tell you that story in a bit more depth in case you did actually read that post. It's worth reading. There's some really insightful messages there, and I have actually put it on I will be putting it on my blog on Shamanic Path and Practice for those who'd like to catch up with it. This story is about what you might call, some might refer to as a vision quest, although I don't really call it that. I just decided I used to go regularly out into the bush and sit in nature to connect with Mother Earth and Mother Nature and the elements and my higher guidance, and I would spend a lot of time drumming. And this particular night I'd been prepared to go out for quite a few days, and a friend of mine had a lovely block of land, or quite a big large property not far from a lovely creek. So I used to go out there for my little retreats, and this time I was sitting out under the stars, and I'd been drumming for 17 hours and chanting pretty well non-stop. And I was feeling like I needed to just have a bit of a rest and lie down for a moment. So the thing about it is, I was out there by myself. I was in a sleeping bag. And the thing about it is, I had a dream a few days before that I would have company on this particular quest that I was on, and the company in the form of a snake. And I believed that it was going to actually come. I could feel its presence. So I had a few things in preparation. I had a flat stick in case I needed to bandage and the bandage in case I needed to wrap myself up. I wasn't too far away from a telephone. I could get to that phone if I needed to. But anyway, it was on the back of my mind, and I envisioned the snake would probably come through the night, and I had a lovely, beautiful circle of crystals around where I was sitting. And sure enough, the snake came. But it gave me such a surprise in the end, because I was lying back and I'd been sitting up drumming, with candles and chanting, making lots of sort of vibration on the earth. And now I was quiet. I must have given it permission to come. I was lying back down on the sleeping bag, and I heard this, like that sound, click, click. And I sort of held my breath, and then sure enough again, that sound of the two crystals clicking together. So I had a torch nearby. I grabbed the torch and jumped up very quickly in my sleeping bag, and I shined the torch down to the ground, and there was this 5 foot, it's almost a golden coloured, copper kind of looking snake. I don't think it was a tree snake, and it wasn't a king brown, but it was something in between, and I never really did find out what it was, but it had its head up ready, and it was, a little tongue coming out at me. And I thought, wow, it was actually only about this far at the most from my head. And I'd been to, strangely, very strangely, synchronistically, been to a first aid course the day before, and the paramedics seemed to be obsessed with snake bites. So he'd given us all these really clear instructions what to do if you were bitten on a limb or bitten not on a limb. And the sad thing was, had I been bitten on my head, and it was actually a brown snake, I may well not have been here. But as it turned out, I wasn't bitten, and I was prepared. Now the thing is, even though I was prepared, and I wasn't frightened at all up until this point, at all, until that snake arrived, I wasn't in fear of it at all. I was just prepared. There's a big difference, you know. I'd had a snake bandage and, as I said, a ruler or a stick. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I had this long stick that I could put, bandage up to a limb. But what do you do if it strikes you on the head? Well, these thoughts went through my mind in an instant when I saw this snake going like this at me. And I was frozen with fear in that moment because it became a reality. It was actually real. It wasn't me imagining. It wasn't a dream. It was there. It wasn't an illusion. And I had good reason to be afraid because, there was the snake and there was me, my sleeping bag. Couldn't go anywhere. And in that moment, it felt like I had good reason to be afraid. But the thing is, this is the thing. It took me quite a few days, probably even weeks, really, to get this message clear. And what I did was, I realised that I was in fear. I realised that I knew that this snake was coming. And I was prepared. And yet I let fear come in. I hadn't been bitten. What was I so afraid of? And it started to, really make a lot of sense to me that I needed to stop being afraid. So I took a big deep breath and I just, instead of being afraid, I said, thank you for coming to the snake. Thank you for warning me that you were coming. In the dream, I was waiting for you, and I'm sorry I've had such a big reaction, but you gave me a fright in the end. And I really appreciate you coming, but I have to say, I can't think why you're here because you're looking ready to strike at me. And I'd really appreciate it if you could move away now so that I can come back to myself fully and not be afraid. And with that, the snake moved away. It was extraordinary. It heard me, and it just slid off into the night. So I was able to, I actually got out of the sleeping bag and picked up my drum, and I walked over to the house where it wasn't that far away, and went inside, and I sat there all night tuning into the snake, because I forgot to tell you, I'd also promised the snake I would sit with the message until it became clear. Whatever you've come to bring me, I will listen. And for days and days afterwards, every stick on the ground turned into a little snake. It was extraordinary. Everywhere I looked, I'd see these sticks turning into these snakes. It was like this, my eyes were doing these crazy things. And I was walking and I was listening, and I could feel that snake energy with me for days and days, until finally it became very clear. And the message was, do not fear that which may never happen. Do not fear that which may never happen. And how I came to that message, as you can imagine, I'd been afraid in those moments of actually when the snake came. But up to that point, I was prepared, not afraid. And that's what we need to have, that energy right now. Like, there are some really big things happening for us. I'm sure I'm not naming them, but things in the media, and has been for some time. We've been through this a couple of years ago when we started getting all these messages and people are putting their fear out, and there's dreadful atrocities that we're reading about and hearing about that have happened to children, which is just heartbreaking. And what's going to happen? What is going to happen now? What do we do now with all this information? And not only with children, but with us, with governments, with all sorts of things, and it's like, what can we do about that? Well, let's not be afraid of something that's not happened to us right now, today, in front of us now. if it has happened to you, then my deepest sympathy and absolute love. And I know, it's really hard, and for those people who have had atrocities happen to them as a child. And I have had that happen to me as a child too. But in this moment, at this time where I am, it's not happening to me right now. It's happening around me. And it's real. And there's good reason to have feelings, deep feelings, whether that be anger, rage or wrath, whether it be just whatever you're feeling, abandonment, it's sort of a betrayal, these are really horrible things coming up. We've got good reason to feel them and to acknowledge them because they're happening to other people around us. But what we have to understand is, and they could be happening to you, and I'm not saying, that it hasn't happened to you, but what I'm saying to you is be prepared rather than afraid. Every day, be prepared. Settle your nervous system down. Our nervous system is the key here. Because if we constantly overreact, if we constantly react to these things that are outside of our control, then we're going to have our nervous system completely on alert, our adrenals on alert at all times, so that when something happens to us in our arena, to us here physically, we'll be worn out, our energy will be gone. So the message of the snake, do not fear that which may never happen. So I encourage you to come back and don't think about whether the earth's going to collapse or whether we're not going to have someone come and save us or any of those sorts of things. We don't know. That's not what we're experiencing right now because we don't know. We're not at that stage where there is nothing else we can do. Most of us can still wake up and manage our day. So it's so important that we all gather together with hope, that we all gather together with this absolute knowing inside of us that as a collective we are powerful co-creators. To settle our nervous system down and to be really, like a bit like training an animal. If you haven't actually done this already, when you train an animal, you have to allow it to be what it is in the beginning to see what it's going to react to. And each one of us need to observe how we've been reacting. Just sit back from it and observe, and then rein it in. Rein it in. You have the reins. Hold those fears of the future back and come into the present moment. I've had to do this in the last few days. I found myself behind the wheel on the road thinking about some dreadful post that I've seen on Facebook, and then I've pulled myself up. Look at the number plate, Heather. Notice that car. What colour is it? Do you know the type of car it is? Look at the road. Be present in this vehicle. Hold the steering wheel. So if you do three things, have three feelings, like where are your feet right now, Heather? Where are your hands? Come back to this moment. I have to do this to myself constantly because when I drive, that's when sometimes my brain just goes off and thinks for itself. And I was given a little warning the other day, be present, Heather, in the vehicle. When you're there, you're in charge of this vehicle. You're in charge of your brain, your mind, your animal, whatever it is. You need to be in charge of it and rein it back. Bring it back to this moment, to this breath, and to what you're grateful for right now, what you're experiencing in this moment. You're safe right now. You had breakfast this morning. You had lunch today. You had dinner. You were connected to some person who you loved, or you heard from someone who cared about you. Think of the things that lift up your spirit, and that you're training your mind, giving attention to something other than fear. And your mind and your brain, there's a part of your brain that's going to respond to this really well. And it's all connected to your nervous system. You have all different parts of you've got peripheral nervous system, which is all like your lower body. Oh, goodness me. The wind coming in to agree with me here. Yeah, so, and you've got your adrenals happening. So they all respond to your brain. So if you have control of your mind, this is where the healing happens. It's where you can temper these overriding thoughts and bring them back and say, you're not allowed. In that moment, when you've witnessed something on a reel, that's real. That's a real reel. You know, when you've heard somebody speak from their heart of their tragedy, have compassion, have the wrath, if you wish, at the perpetrator. But once you're away from it, don't carry it with you, because you're not helping collectively. I don't help collectively if I ponder on that all day long. I will often say a prayer or sing a song, send some love to the situation, to the person who's in pain, and then hand over what I can't control. So I don't know if you know that saying. It's actually an AA saying, you know, or an Al-Anon saying. I learned it. I went to Alateen as a child, and I was taught, you know, to this beautiful prayer. So it goes like this: God of my understanding, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to have the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I've kept that in my heart, and I say to myself constantly, you know, just, can I change this? And if I can't, I have to surrender it over to a higher power. There are things that we can't change right now, and it's time to change the things that we can, the internal landscape. You know, the work is within, and to help with the energy, to raise the vibration collectively. I can't say I can do this easily. I can't say I can do it all the time, but I bring myself back. I remind myself of that message from the snake. Do not fear that which may never happen. No, there are stories out there of all sorts of things that are going to happen. Well, they may never happen. Let's stay with what's real today. And if that real is real for you, it's real that you're watching. But if it's real for somebody else, and you can be the witness and you can be observed, you're far better off sending that person love and compassion and containing those feelings, learning to rein them in and to temper them and to be loving and kind to yourself and just settle down. Maybe share with a loved one or a friend how you're feeling. That can help. And they can help bring a new perspective. I've been connecting with some close friends this week, and they've helped me because I help them when they're feeling a bit that way too. And they know how to listen. And that's so important, to know how to listen. And just to hold the energy for the person sharing with you rather than trying to sort it out for them all the time, you know. And I do that a lot too. I have to pull myself back. So I'm not preaching to you here. I'm as human as you are. But I've learnt a lot. You know, I've got a few grey hairs. And I remember things that have helped me. There are other things you can do. Too many things to talk about here. I want to get into the drumming. So please go to that post. It's only a few days ago on my Facebook Shamanic Path and Practice page, and I'll make sure that that information goes on my blog. I can't even remember if I put it on there yet, but it's on my website, and maybe I'll put this video on with it. And just think about that. Do not fear that which may never happen. Keep that in the back of your mind. Have these little sayings, you know, that people say to have affirmations. It's good also to have these little sayings, little prayers that you can turn to in those moments when you lose control of your mind, as in it just does what it wants to do. So please stay steady on your feet, present in the moment, and in your heart space as much as you can at the moment. Look after those adrenals because they're a bit overdone. Looking for the worst to happen all the time because, you know, they're on alert. And be kind to yourself, be kind to your body. Rest when you need to, whenever you can. And please have faith and trust. You know, we have these beautiful aunties and uncles in the cosmic planets. I always like to think of them as our ancestors and our aunties and uncles watching over us, guiding us, and talk to them. Help them to understand what we need as well, because they're up there doing their merry old thing. But we're down here managing the energy from that as well. So I spent a little bit of time today having conversations with my beautiful King Neptune, who rules my particular zodiac sign of Pisces, who's just shifted into Aries and right in those early stages, and just saying, you know, don't forget us down here on the planet, down here on Earth. And just enjoying the changes that are happening up there. They certainly are happening. Pam Gregory is a great one to listen to. If you don't know her as an astrologist, please tune in. I'm just getting my drum with her. And she will guide you beautifully through these times. So I have studied astrology for a few years, but I'm nowhere near calling myself an astrologist. I just have a lovely relationship with the cosmic beings. So our snake medicine has just passed through with the Chinese New Year, moving into the snake and moving into the fire horse. But it can still work with us, Snake medicine's with us all the time. It helps us to shed our skin, to shed our fear, to transform our thoughts. So please call upon the snake medicine if you need to be grounded, because there's so much energy coming into Aries, into the fire element right now, that we do need that grounded energy still. Please don't just let snake pass you by. It's going to be there still. The earth medicine, the beautiful earth medicines, your herbs. Turn to your beautiful herbs. Put your feet on the earth. Ground yourself as much as you can, because fire and earth are great companions. Earth keeps fire in its sort of like from getting out of control. And fire will burn off, warm up those seeds and allow the seeds to break open and shoot. So they're great companions. So bring in the earth element right now. Ground yourself into the present moment. The drum is going to take you on a journey. I'm going to stop talking. But first I just want to prepare you. So bring your breath into that center of your being. Ground yourself through your feet into the earth. Ground yourself by naming yourself. I am Heather. I am daughter of the earth. I'm daughter of the sun. The River Dee in Scotland runs through my veins. My ancestors come from that place. The River Mihai, the lands of Gamilaroi, run through my blood. I was born on that country. Name where you're from. Your soul song is within you, and part of that soul song is knowing who you are and where you're from, where you were born, the closest river, the closest mountain. Mount Capital was in the distance for me in the east. And I used to look out through the window and see Mount Capital and know I would be visiting there one day, someday. Now I have beautiful mountains closer to me that I turn to. Name your mountain, where you are your highest self when you stand on that mountain. And let the drum guide you to that mountain. Climb that mountain, or just take a leap. Be there. One big great leap. Be on top of that mountain, in control of yourself, with your earth energy strong at its peak, at its highest. And you can look down around you 360 degrees, and maybe you do see fires here and fires there. Maybe you see fires out in the sky around the sun. But you're earthed and you're present and you're observing rather than being in the fire. And there is a beautiful river close by, or a creek or a stream. Maybe just a mountain stream would be enough. It's calling you. And you're going to put your feet into the mud where the stream comes and mixes with the earth. Paint yourself with the mud. Paint yourself with the earth. Feel the earth seeping into your skin, mixing with the minerals that have come deep from in the earth. I am daughter, I am son of the earth. I am mountain woman, mountain man. I am connected to Mother, to Father Earth. I know who I am. Name yourself. Claim yourself. Claim your soul song. What brings you most joy? Sing your soul song. No one's listening, only me. Let that sound come from deep inside of you, in your womb space, in your belly, in your heart. Sing your name. Sing your soul song, the truth of who you are. I am courageous. I am strong. Remember what you were like when you were little. I'm adventurous. I talk to the animals. I talk to the trees. I'm daughter of the stones, sister of the stones, sister of the eagle, brother of the trees. Whatever you were connected with as a child, when you were free and held by Mother Nature, remember your song. Remember who you are. Fearless, courageous, playful, joyful, peaceful, shining. Do this every day. Get your drum out, get your rattle out, get your singing bowls out, your tuning forks, whatever you use, and play, sing, sound. Be present with the truth of who you are. I am mountain woman, in fact. You are mountain man, mountain woman. We all have a mountain. Feel the mountain, your mountain. Be the highest you can be right now. Do not fear that which may never happen. Be at peace. Smile. A smile will set you free. Breathe. In. Breathe out. Hold your breath out. Relax. Train that brain of yours. Train that mind. That primitive mind. It's a gecko dreaming. Dream your dream right now. Allow yourself to think for a moment what your song is today. How you want to be in the world. How you want to show up today. Don't think about the doing. Think about the being. How you want to be. How you want to feel when you're in that place that is right for you. Safe. We are safe here. Imagine we are safe together. We are united in love for each other, in compassion, in gentleness, in goodness, with intention. We love our children. We're here for our children. All children are our children. Bless their hearts. Be strong for them. Vigilant, reliable, respectful, strong, strong, strong. Loving, loving, loving. Peaceful, at peace, grateful, joyful. Take care of your energy, dear friends. Name it, claim it, be it. And breathe it in. This is your soul song. This is the truth of who you are. Today, right now. Be empowered. Be brave. be safe on the inside. Do not fear that which may never happen. Until we meet again, every Sunday at sunset, know that I think about my beautiful tribe. I appreciate you leaving your messages. I really do. Not just for me, but for each other. You know, I read something today that had a really big question, you know, and I was so proud of my community, not particularly the ones I serve, but the ones I've walked with. You know, this is like friendship. My friends, the way they managed each other. Some of the comments were fearful or judgmental, and there was no kind of big response or big reaction. Everybody was just kind to each other. We're all going through stuff. Be kind, be loving, and have compassion for those who may not be quite as awake as you. You know, I'm tearful right now because I have so much love and compassion for those I serve and for you. So yeah, thank you for joining me now or whenever. Until we meet again, there are many of my beautiful, look at you all. There are so many of us holding the light. Of course, it's all going to be right in the end. And all okay in the end. Blessings be and gratitude. Thank you so much.